A classified document just surfaced that Wall Street never wanted you to see. Bloomberg intercepted a secret memo circulating inside the Kremlin among Russia's most powerful officials. What's written on those pages explains exactly why your portfolio is hemorrhaging. If you're holding silver or gold, if you watched silver skyrocket to 121 only to collapse to 64, this memo is your answer key. This document explains the 37% massacre on January 30th. It explains why gold dropped over $1,000 in hours. Here's the explosive truth. Russia is literally begging to come back to the dollar system. This is the same country that spent 4 years screaming the US dollar was finished, dead, obsolete. They told the world BRICS was the future, but according to this leaked intelligence, they're now quietly, desperately asking America for forgiveness. And they're not coming empty-handed. They're putting the most massive economic offer in modern history on the table, $12 trillion. We're talking comprehensive access to oil reserves, natural gas infrastructure, nuclear power technology, artificial intelligence research, and rare earth minerals, including lithium and platinum. They're offering America everything, and in exchange, they have one single request. Just let us use the US dollar again. This fundamentally changes the entire investment landscape overnight. This isn't abstract geopolitics. This is your money. This is your silver stack. And if you don't understand this deal, you're flying blind in the most volatile market we've seen in decades. By the time you finish listening, you're going to know exactly what's happening behind closed doors, and critically, what actions you need to take immediately to protect your wealth. But to understand why silver crashed so violently, we need to rewind. Go back to February 2022. Russia invades Ukraine. The West retaliates not with military force, but with financial warfare. The United States and European Union pressed the delete button on the Russian economy. They expelled Russia from SWIFT, the global financial messaging system. Think of SWIFT as the plumbing moving trillions daily. The West cut the entire pipe system. Then they froze $300 billion of Russian reserves in Western banks. They sanctioned billionaires and oil companies. The message was clear. You're finished. No more dollars. No more euros. Most experts declared Russia was done. They expected total collapse. But Russia executed something clever. They didn't collapse. They pivoted east to China. Within months, the ruble and yuan replaced the dollar for virtually everything Russia traded. The transition happened fast. By late 2024, Putin appeared on television bragging that 90% of Russia-China trade happened without the dollar. 90%. Two of the planet's largest economies conducting billions in business without American currency. Russia became the poster child for de-dollarization. In 2024, at the BRICS summit, Putin held up a prototype BRICS currency like a revolutionary flag. The message was loud. The dollar is dying. We're building something better. The precious metals market loved this narrative. The logic seemed bulletproof. If the world stops using the dollar becomes worthless. Everyone needs a new place to store wealth. They flood into gold and silver. Central banks started buying gold like they were preparing for apocalypse. They bought 863 tons in 2025 alone. Gold exploded from 2,000 to 5,500. Silver rocketed from 24 to 120. If you bought early, you felt like a genius. It felt like the easiest money ever made. But here's the brutal rule of investing. When profits come too easily, you're usually walking into a trap. While everyone celebrated the dollar's death, something different was happening inside Russia. The perfect plan was turning into a nightmare. This is what the news never told you. When Russia dumped the dollar for yuan, the world cheered. But inside Russian banks, the gears ground to a halt. By September 2024, Russian banks hit a wall. They needed yuan to pay for imports, but there was no cash. The yuan wasn't there. It got so bad that overnight borrowing rates for yuan in Moscow shot past 200%. Imagine needing to borrow money to keep your business open for one day. The bank says sure, but you pay 200% interest. That's not a loan, that's a death sentence. Russian businesses couldn't access the currency they needed to survive. Then Chinese banks made it worse. Major institutions stopped processing Russian payments. They got scared of American sanctions. They ghosted Russia. So Russia was trapped. Enormous oil reserves, vast resources, but no money that functioned. That brings us back to that leaked memo. Payments that took 24 hours were suddenly taking 18 days. Imagine running a business. Employees need paychecks. Suppliers demand payment. But money you earned 3 weeks ago still hasn't appeared because the banking system is choking. That's economic nightmare. But delays weren't the worst part. Russia thought China was their partner. But China is a shark. Sharks smell blood. China realized Russia burned all bridges with the West. Zero alternatives. And when you have no other options, you don't set the price. The person across the table owns you completely. China started squeezing hard. They forced Russia to sell oil at massive discounts. 23 to 29% less than world prices. Then they demanded natural gas cheaper than Russian citizens pay. Then in January 2026, China stopped buying Russian electricity. No warning, just hung up. One customer stops paying, you're bankrupt overnight. This exposed the dirty secret about the dollar's death. The US dollar works everywhere. Tokyo, London, New York, remote African villages. It's liquid, it moves fast. The Chinese yuan is not the dollar, it's trapped, controlled by Beijing. Russian companies sold millions in oil, got paid in yuan, but couldn't spend it, couldn't convert it, couldn't buy from other countries. Like getting paid in gift cards that only work at one store. You can't pay your mortgage with gift cards. That's what happened to Russia's economy. Drowning in worthless gift cards? The friction ate them alive. Every money movement lost money. So look at the scoreboard. Russia left the dollar to become independent. But they didn't get freedom. They traded one master for another, fired Washington, hired Beijing. Except Beijing is a far more ruthless boss. By early 2026, Russia's economy was hitting a brick wall at 100 miles per hour. The government claimed 6% inflation. That was a lie. Real inflation was 22%. Everything skyrocketed. To keep lights on, they hiked taxes and interest rates to 16%. For business owners, 16% rates are execution. Construction stopped, manufacturing stopped. Russia only produced weapons. 40% of the budget went to military. Soviet Union levels. The civilian economy was dying. There was nobody left to hire because everyone building houses was now building bullets. Money dried up. The war machine ate the economy. The Chinese trap snapped shut. BRICS delivered nothing. So what do you do when your plan fails, your economy burns, and your partner robs you blind? You call the enemy. This is where it gets wild. The man making the call is Kirill Dmitriev. He runs Russia's sovereign wealth fund, Putin's money manager. He's been sitting with Steve Witkoff, a US special envoy. They cooked up a deal, a surrender. Ukraine's Zelensky blew the whistle first. His intelligence intercepted the communications. He saw the numbers and couldn't believe them. The deal is called the Dmitriev package, worth 12 trillion, 4 times Russia's entire economy. Bloomberg got the memo. 7 proposals, each more shocking than the last. Not just trade deals, desperate pleas for survival. Proposal 1. Russia wants the dollar back for energy deals. The country that led the war against the dollar is begging to use it. White flag. Proposal 2. Airplanes. Sanctions cut off Boeing and Airbus parts. Russian airlines are cannibalizing old planes to keep them flying. Desperate for American parts. Proposal 3. Energy. Joint projects. Siberian gas. Arctic drilling. Handing America keys to massive untapped reserves. Proposal 4. Nuclear energy. Opening uranium supply chains. Access to nuclear technology. Countries go to war over this stuff. Russia's putting it on the table as a gift. Proposal 5. Artificial intelligence, not chatbots. The new arms race. Whoever wins AI controls future military power. Russia proposes building it with America. Proposal 6. Mining. Lithium, copper, nickel, platinum. Inside every iPhone, electric car, fighter jet. Russia's offering to share the shovel. Proposal 7. Russia wants to team up with America to push oil and gas. Crush green energy policies from Europe and China. They know their audience. There's a cherry on top. That 300 billion frozen in European banks could become a signing bonus for the US. Take our money, let us back in. 300 billion reasons to say yes. Western officials saw the strategy immediately. Not just a trade deal, a wedge. If America shakes hands with Russia on energy, why care about European sanctions? Russia's trying to break the alliance, split the West in half. February 13th, Russia confirmed it. It's real. The country that screamed death to the dollar for 4 years is begging for a life raft. Now listen closely, because this will hurt. For years, the internet told you one story. BRICS is coming. Dollar is dead. Buy gold. Buy silver. It was compelling. But stories don't pay bills. Facts do. At the 2025 BRICS Summit, they released a 126-point declaration. How many times did they mention de-dollarization? 0. Not once. The biggest anti-dollar club couldn't say the word. Why? Reality hit them. India said the dollar keeps the world stable. Indonesia said no thanks. Brazil refused a new currency. They looked at the math. Replacing the dollar is impossible. Trump dropped the hammer. He threatened 100% tariffs on any BRICS country trying to replace the dollar. Economic nuclear bomb. If India or Brazil loses American customers, their economies collapse overnight. So they folded. The dollar isn't just money. It's the operating system of the planet. Global reserves in dollars, 59%. In yuan, 3%. That's not competition. That's rounding error versus heavyweight champion. The dollar handles 89% of currency trades. There's no BRICS currency, no payment system, nothing. The story is dead. The death of the dollar narrative got its legs cut off. So here's the problem. You bought silver thinking the dollar was dying. You bought gold thinking BRICS was taking over. But now the dollar is stronger and Russia's begging to come back. What happens to your portfolio? Let me be straight. When Bloomberg dropped this story, February 12th, silver fell off a cliff. In 60 minutes, dropped 10%, 83 to 74. Gold followed. But that wasn't the worst day. There was a darker day, 37% in one day, worst since 1980. Gold fell 11%. Why? Kevin Warsh was nominated as Fed chair. He's a hawk, loves high rates. High rates are bad for gold. Investors panicked, margin calls, forced to dump everything. Silver crashed from 121 to 64, 45% collapse. Gold dropped 21%. If you held through that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know the sick feeling in your stomach when you check your portfolio and see nothing but red. I'm not going to lie. The Russian news is bad for metals short term. If Russia starts buying dollars, that creates dollar demand. Strong dollar usually pushes gold and silver down. Plus, the BRICS narrative is dead. That was the emotional fuel. People bought because they thought the dollar was ending. That fear's gone. So expect more volatility, more dips. That's truth. But now let me tell you what I actually think. And this is where I need you to really lock in because most people are staring at the price and completely missing the value. Silver already crashed by 45% from 121 to 64. That's brutal. That's blood in the streets. But when I look at silver at $60 or $70, I don't see a panic zone. I see a buying zone. This is where smart money quietly loads up while everyone else runs for the exit. Markets are messy. Silver might dip more. But when I zoom out, the fundamentals haven't changed one bit. Here's the math that no secret Russian memo can change. Silver has been in a supply deficit for years. We used 1.2 billion ounces last year. We only mined 1.03 billion out of the ground. That's a gap of nearly 200 million ounces every single year. We're using more silver than we can find. That math doesn't care about Vladimir Putin. That math doesn't care about the Kremlin. That math just keeps compounding. Silver is in everything. Solar panels, electric cars, 5G towers, medical equipment, missiles being fired in Ukraine. Every electric vehicle uses 25 to 50 grams of silver. Every solar panel uses 20 grams. The world is building more of these things, not less. That demand isn't disappearing just because Russia likes dollars again. Physical silver is disappearing. The vaults in London and New York are emptying. The gap between the paper price and the real price you pay for a coin is getting wider. That's not normal. When paper price says one thing and physical price says another, it means the market is broken. Central banks know this. China bought gold for 15 straight months. They aren't stopping. India isn't stopping. They're diversifying because they don't trust the system. America has 38 trillion in debt. That number isn't shrinking. Whatever happens with Russia, that debt keeps growing. At some point, that math catches up with the dollar. When it does, gold and silver will be the only lifeboats left. That's not speculation, that's history. And honestly, this deal with Russia is just a proposal. There's a massive gap between talking and signing. Russia needs sanctions lifted. Washington has to agree. Europe has to agree. The war has to end. None of that is simple. Here's something that will blow your mind. Russia has quietly started adding silver to its strategic reserves. $535 million worth. They're building a bunker. In public, they're saying, please let us use your banking system. But in private, they're hoarding hard assets. India has bought over 900 million ounces in 5 years. Saudi Arabia is buying silver through ETFs. These are nations, governments. Why? Because you can freeze a bank account. You cannot freeze a bar of silver. You cannot print metal. Russia is playing a double game. They want the dollar for trade, but metal for safety. That tells you everything about how big players see the board. The dollar is useful, but metal is insurance. Russia running back to the dollar doesn't prove the dollar is safe. It proves the dollar is a weapon. Russia didn't choose it because they love America. They chose it because they had a gun to their head. Their economy was crumbling. Every country watched this happen. China watched. India watched. Saudi Arabia watched. They saw America freeze 300 billion. They saw a major country get kicked out overnight. That fear doesn't go away because Russia surrendered. That fear is exactly why central banks keep buying gold. They're buying it so they don't die if the system turns against them. JP Morgan just released their forecast. They see gold hitting 6,300 by year end. Goldman Sachs says 5,400. UBS sees 6,200 by March. These aren't bloggers. These are the guys who control the game. When JP Morgan sets a target, billions move. And notice what happened after gold crashed. Did it keep falling? No. Buyers stepped in immediately. Gold bounced back above 5,000 within a week. Why? Because people who manage real money know one memo doesn't kill a bull market. It just creates a sale. The war for the future of money isn't over. The dollar won a battle, but the war is long. Physical silver and gold are the only assets no government can destroy. That isn't opinion. That's 5,000 years of human history. Short term, expect noise. Expect scary headlines. They want to shake you out. They want your silver cheap. But zoom out. Look at the debt clock. 38 trillion. Look at central banks buying gold. Look at nations hoarding silver while they smile and shake hands with America. Every major correction in history was followed by higher highs. The people who folded always regretted it. This time isn't different. Everything points in one direction, and that direction is up. That's my honest take. Now it's your turn to move. Are you folding and selling, or doubling down and buying the blood in the streets? The smart money knows the answer. The question is whether you have the stomach for this market.